Hello, I'm back. Did you miss me? Delighters in MakeCode Arcade. We're going to do introductions again. We're going to talk about what's a delighter. And then that will lead into a bunch of things that are just inherently delightful. Speaking of delightful, my name is Kiki Prottsman. I am at Kiki VSIT across all my social media platforms. And I came here via code.org, joined MakeCode in 2020, and have been here ever since. And I'm just happy as a clam. So that's me. This time, I would like to actually bring Richard up to do his own intro. Richard?
I'm Richard. This is my cat AutoZone. It's nice to see you all. I'm at Richard on the Make Good forums.
Richard will be producing this segment and saving my hindquarters if I need it again. But I think we're good with this one because this is all about delighters.
So all about the things that really make MakeCode Arcade just delightful.
And at Microsoft, we talk about delighters as if they are something that is not required of a product. It's not something that if it's missing, people are like, oh, well, this doesn't have this. It's more something that we put in there purely to make people smile. They
weren't necessarily saying
we're going to put this in so that we can reach this target or that we can make this happen. But they're things that just make the experience a little bit nicer. And
so some of these fit that to a T.
Others do have quite a bit of functionality, and we hope to expand on them at some point of time. So I'm going to start with MakeCode Arcade multiplayer. And we could go back to arcade.makecode.com, scroll through and find the multiplayer tutorials. There is a line for them. But we've been doing that a lot. And
that is one way that
you already know how to get to basically everything in MakeCode. But each of those rows also has a page associated with it. So if you want to go straight to the multiplayer tutorial page, you can use this URL here, and it will take you to our list of multiplayer tutorials that we have. So I love the multiplayer tutorials, not just because they're fun games. Many of them are pretty elaborate games that use extensions to make them much more succinct so that students can get through them in a single class period. But also, just as Scott at the very beginning was talking about how when you put something, when you take it off your computer screen and just you know how it got there, it's really not that special, to you anymore because you've been coding on it for days. You put it on something else, suddenly it becomes real. It becomes a real thing. And if you were here for the coding game show games session with Alex, then you saw firsthand what it's like to share a game and have other people jump on and then you battle each other. This arrow battle game is one of those. This pizza party game is one of those. They're games where you can have multiple people from across the country jump on at the same time and play. And one of the wonderful things about multiplayer on Arcade is that we've prioritized safety. There is no way to chat with one another. You can't send messages, ask for secret meetings, tell people
who you really are. You can't do any of that.
The best you'll get is like if you look at Pizza Party and you see how these sprites are color-coded, your avatar will be that sprite. And that's pretty much as personalized as it gets. And then for chatting, you can't talk to each other, but you can press number keys 1 through 5 and spam as many emoji as you want while you're playing. If we have time at the end, maybe I'll come back and we can play one live. But we do already have some games that are coded if you want to experiment with it. If you remember me mentioning, this is one of the features that you need to be logged in to initiate a game. So these multiplayer games are already created. They don't need to be coded. If you'd like to play around with them and see what it means to host a multiplayer game, they're right there. No problemo. While we're talking about amazing games and how fun it is, I want to move over to Kiosk. If you were just listening to the last session, Sarah worked on bringing Kiosk to life. This was also shown by Scott
in the very first session when he was basically loading these things live.
He brought this up on his Xbox. And I like to say
that MakeCode Arcade
is the quickest way to get your game on an Xbox. So other Xbox games take a long time to develop, a long time to get in the store, and it can be quite a process. But if you make a game on MakeCode Arcade, you can pull in Kiosk,
and you could be playing your game
on your Xbox, your own game, the game you created on Xbox by lunchtime. And that's something that Kiosk has allowed us to do. I think that's super amazing. This version of Kiosk, this is how it comes by default. There are already games on it. You now can scroll using your arrow buttons, using your mouse. You can click things around. It didn't used to be that way, but we had Eric do some work to make sure that it was useful, whether it was on an actual kiosk or whether you're using it on your computer. But all of these games were made in MakeCode by our engineers. Some of the majority of them, I believe, were built in blocks and using extensions. But it's just a really good illustration of how detailed and fun you can get with some of these games. Oh, Asphodel. That makes a great Friday Fun Day, by the way. Yeah. So these are the games that come on the kiosk. And if you want to use the kiosk in your classroom,
maybe you're building a classroom kiosk,
or maybe you just want to collect all the games at the end of class and have your students turn them in, and you can go through them and just kind of let people know, let them celebrate the work that they've been doing to class. Oh, we do have a question. Is there a limit to how many games you can put on kiosk? I'm going to imagine that the answer is yes. Richard, I'm going to let you hop in, or if Sarah is still around. But I don't know. I've never tried to max it out.
Not that I'm aware of, but that's more a question for Sarah than it is for me.
Okay. Well, I think Sarah went to take a break before the Q&A, so we will ask her then. That's a great one to bring back to the Q&A. If you want to use this with your own class, we do have a tag or a flag, clean equals 1, and that will give you an empty kiosk. So you don't have any of those games mixed in with your classroom games. I'm going to take a leap of faith here, knowing that I have the ability to delete or switch tabs, and I am going to make my kiosk open. So we have a kiosk ID here, and this kiosk ID, you can go into your game and you can share your game to this address. Let me copy this real quick. And let me go into one of those games that's already coded. We will go into, let's do Falling Duck. Falling Duck has had its day a couple of different ways today. And I will go to share my project, and under this button here, this is the joystick for kiosk, and you put your kiosk code in there. When you click submit, you'll see that it was submitted successfully to the kiosk, and I heard the little ding that let me know. It also said Falling Duck added. So when I return to the menu, now you'll see Falling Duck over and over because that's the only game in there. As other people add their games, they will add, there we go, Dungeon Crawler. Thank you very much. At the moment, we don't have usernames to know who is contributing, but I'm just going to say thank you and leave it at that. But the really neat thing is when you do this, you can go through at the end of class and say, oh, look, this is Falling Duck. What a creative use of duck. and just make sure everybody gets a moment to acknowledge their game before you're done. And it makes it just a whole lot more fun for students. I also wanted to mention here, you'll notice that some games had, I'm going to click and go back in this, they had animated GIFs as they were showing up on the kiosk. You can do that by when you go to share, update project thumbnail. I'm so good at this game, as you can tell. Um, I can't play and hit buttons at the same time. I am not that great at these. But yeah, you can record your game. I'm going to hit record first. There we go. There we go. And then it records your animated GIF. It asks you if that's the recording you would like. And yes, I really wanted a recording over and over of my failures. Let's see. Oh, sometimes when you record, then hit reload, it just takes the screen before you hit reload. But you get the point. Maybe on a slightly less difficult game, you could get a slightly longer animated GIF, and then that becomes your thumbnail. Then when you apply it, that is what will pop up on social media, in the kiosk, et cetera, when that link goes in. So that's another little kind of delighter. And if you're going to be looking at kiosk, then you should, okay, I'm really over that do sound. So I'm going to go back to the educators page.
So I can show you the hardware projects that go along with this.
If you've been using kiosk in your classroom, then you might want to consider making your own classroom kiosk. So we have a couple of versions here. This wood and laptop version was created by a local makerspace, and they designed this in CAD
to be cut out on a CNC router.
And we have all the files for it. Everything you need, including the list of hardware, everything is here. And you've got the drawing kind of exploded. It breaks down into a top cabinet and a bottom cabinet. Bottom cabinet. And then you can put them together, but you can also just leave it like this and set it on a desk. It depends, I guess, on how big your router is and how much wood you want to purchase. These buttons are the typical buttons we use for this, for the shoebox controller, for lots of different projects that we have, because they just work really well with USB. So this is a really fun project to make. And then in this one, they actually purchased a screen this size that was made for arcade cabinets and plugged it in through HDMI to their laptop. And then the buttons and joystick just work like your controllers. They send those same signals so that you can continue playing just like you would play on the regular computer. This is one that we're kind of continually working on. This is a cardboard arcade cabinet. And the fun thing about this is that is a laptop in there.
So if you have a Surface PC or you have Chromebooks that your kids are coding on, then you can have them measure those Chromebooks and figure out,
okay, here's your hands-on maker project. We're going to be making arcade cabinets for our games today. So you need to measure, you need to figure out what size screen you're going to cut out. You need to figure out how you're going to support the laptop inside the arcade cabinet. How are you going to make it so that you can put the buttons up there without it bumping on the keyboard if your laptop doesn't open to 180 degrees? And they can design their own stuff out of cardboard and tape. And it's a really fun project. And the neat thing about this is once it is set all up in there, it feels like you're playing on an arcade cabinet. And then students become even more excited to create their own games for the arcade cabinet. So my suggestions in classroom is you start with your tutorials, teaching them how to use arcade. And they do some things that everybody's kind of doing the same thing, but putting their own flair. And then you do this project and you have them make their own arcade, have them theme it. have them say, and usually it's in pairs or even small groups, and have them choose a theme for their arcade cabinet. Maybe it's monkeys. And then once they have that cabinet and they have it themed, then you set them off to create games for that cabinet. Suddenly, those games are for them. They're not for turning in, they're not for grades. They're for their cabinet. And they're so much more excited to create them. It's a really, really cool project. I highly recommend. And yes, embrace
the cardboard. I love it.
Along the same kind of feeling is these little doohickeys. So we saw a version of the standalone little handheld game thing when Scott was presenting this morning. This one you can get, it's already kind of coated in rubber. This has the ability to hold multiple games. It comes with some games on it. This is the Game Go that Jacqueline was showing the curriculum for earlier. So you can put your game on one of these puppies. And the really neat thing about this is that it feels just much more real when you're playing on one of these types of things. It feels like it's no longer just an assignment that you did. It's kind of like, wow, how did my game get on a real handheld? You could take it and play it while you're waiting in line. You could play it in the car. You can play it on the bus on the way to school. People will want to play it. People won't believe you made the game. And then we have this type of thing. And this is very similar, but it's meant to use microbit cartridges, which I just happen to have like half a dozen of. But it uses microbit cartridges to store the games. And the really neat thing about this for people of a certain age is that you remember being able to put game cartridges in and then swap them out and play another game and not constantly have to overwrite what's on there. And so if you have multiple microbits, you can have multiple games that you just swap out and use as game cartridges. It's so much fun. And these types of things used to be really inexpensive. They have grown in price over the past 5 years or so. But you can still get them anywhere between $40 for something like a Meowbit, up to, I think these run into the like $60 range, up to $80, depending on how nice you get. And you don't have to get one for every student. That's kind of a cool thing also is I have talked to some teachers who get maybe 5 of them. And now we don't sell these. So I'm not like pitching them. I can't get you a volume discount or anything.
We don't sell these. I have to order them the same way everybody else does. But if you order 5 of them or so.
And then people who get done with their game, if they met and exceeded standards, or if they were done first, or however you like to prioritize kudos for your students, you can have their 5 games be on each of these handhelds, and then people can play with them, show them off, and their game is on there for a week or until however long you do the next project, and then it swaps and somebody else's game goes on them. So that's a really fun little delighter as well. Okay, so we talked about hardware. We talked about kiosk. We talked about
Xbox. So let's go
ahead and talk about let's talk about the little delighters within the program. So these have been hinted at as well throughout different sessions, but I'm going to go to, I heard this ding. I know somebody else added something. Toy Story by Roman. Very nice. Thank you, Roman. So I'm going to go here, and I want to not underestimate the delightfulness of choosing your theme. So we had so many people celebrate when we added dark theme, and the ability to change your theme from person to person really is a small step to make this feel like it belongs to you and like it's your interface. So I highly recommend showing your students how to use that. Another thing I wanted to show you was I talked a little bit about image packs. Image packs is another one of those delighters, the things that you can add to your code that, yeah, see, this is the banner they were talking about earlier. I did that. That's my fault. I'm very, very sorry. I'm going to go ahead and make it so that that doesn't pop up anymore. Let's go ahead and look at the image pack style. Ooh, this throws me off because dark is not usually my thing. Let's go ahead and move over there. See, visceral reaction. Just you can tell when it's yours. Yes. So we have Richard is going to be working on the ability for us to make the process of creating image packs even easier. So we do have something in progress and it should be done before long. I am going to attempt to use that version here because I'm feeling fearless, because I know Richard is behind the scenes. I'm going to go ahead and do it.
I'm not 100% sure it's in beta yet.
Okay, well, we're going to try it anyway.
We are live at the moment. However,
this ends after this day, and if it doesn't work, I don't have to put it up. So here we go. I need an image to put up there. So let me add an image, and I'm going to be pretty cliche and boring. Oops, I always forget. Pretty cliche and boring right now. I'm just going to do a smiley face. So here we go, smiley face. But imagine that this is not a smiley face. Imagine that this is art that you've been working on for your final project, for a game. And you want to be able to go over to the forum and share all that art. Man, if you visit our forum at all, you will see some of the most unbelievable games done by the people on our forum, a lot of them quite young, and they do some amazing art. So I highly recommend you look at some of the games on the forum. Occasionally, people will also post their asset packs, but it is possible to basically turn any game into an asset pack. All right, I have an asset now. I usually delete my blocks, but this won't be necessary at some point to do that, because when you label it as an asset pack, it doesn't look for anything basically other than your assets. So, all right, I'm going to click over to JavaScript. We're going to have a little drum roll as I go down to the pxt.json. Not there yet. That's okay. That's totally fine. I was prepared for this. So we're going to go to asset.json. And the reason we're going to do that is because in order for it to be treated as an asset pack, we need a line down here that is asset pack camel case. And then we need this colon, and then we need true there. And then this little bit here is what tells the project you're importing it into that this is an asset pack and that you should treat it as such. All right. So now I'm going to click back into main TS to save that. And then just because as a coder, I'm paranoid about whether stuff saves, I'm going to just go back in and check. And it is there. So we are excellent. I'm going to go back to main TS. And now I have this to add into other projects. I can, like I showed you before with the extensions, I can kind of take the risk into my own hands, although we have the asset pack thing, so this shouldn't be an issue now because asset packs kind of get their own category that they go into, so it shouldn't collide with anything in a new project. But I'm going to go ahead and copy this link. And now when I go into a new project, I really feel a drum roll in my head, just so everybody out there knows. Hello. Oh, it wanted to reload because this one's not in beta. Just to make sure I don't cause any issues, I'm going to put this one in beta too. There we go. There we go. Extension. And then I'm going to pull that asset pack in as an extension. All I did was make a project, share it. Now it's an extension. Yes, I know it's already open elsewhere. But now you'll see that my assets are in this project as well. So, and it's going to fuss at me because I brought in a project that is already open somewhere else. But That is the process. You can also do the same thing that you did. Yeah. I know I did the conflict myself. I'm sorry about that. You can also do the same process as you do with extensions, where you upload it to GitHub and then you pull the GitHub URL to import it in. But then it's sometimes easier for people to make a bunch of images and bring them in than it is for them to do a lot of code and bring them in. So just wanted to show that. Those are some of the main delighters in Microsoft MakeCode Arcade. Speaking of delighters, I think it's time for another giveaway, right? We did stickers, we did posters, and we did a word search. I'm now going to do backgrounds. So we have a folder full of desktop backgrounds based on MakeCode backgrounds. So these have been sized up. In some cases, they've had things added to the side so it'll fit a larger desktop. But we now have a bunch of images for you that you can use in graphics on your computer, on a website, when you're doing stuff with MakeCode Arcade. And the URL for this is aka.ms/arcadebg.